The White House is trying not to offend nearly a quarter of the world's population, saying such language simply plays into the terrorists' propaganda. But many critics say the president is just avoiding the reality of what's driving terrorism around the world, and that in doing so, he is projecting weakness. Karl Rove's been watching and joins us now. He is former senior advisor and Deputy Chief of Staff to President George W. Bush and a Fox News contributor. I remember quite clearly many times when your former boss, George W. Bush, was in the White House, he said, our war is not with Islam itself. This president does not want to say that. Why, Karl?
I don't understand it, because making the distinction between the radical Islamic terrorists and Islam itself is a powerful tool in the war against terror. It allows you to say, we stand with the aspirations of the vast majority of the Muslim population around the world, mothers and fathers who desire for their children not a life of martyrdom and beheading and violent conflict, but they want a peaceful life for their children. And if the President of the United States is unwilling to make this distinction, he loses the opportunity to rally to our side those Muslims who are sitting on the sideline. He also loses an incredibly powerful diplomatic tool. President Bush was able to use this to say to the Saudi leaders, these people claim to speak in the name of your religion, and part of the resources that they have gotten in decades past came from you. You need to get actively engaged in saving your religion. These people do not speak for your faith. Don't let them appear to speak to your faith. Cut off their resources and join the fight. I'd have one other point to make about the speech today, John. There were some laudable points in there. He talked about the need for economic opportunity, for educating women, for transparency, for respect for rights and the rule of law, for tolerance. And those are all good goals to aim for. But first and foremost, none of those can be achieved. None of those can be attempted unless there is security for the people in these countries and in this region. And you can say that you want to educate women all you like, but until the people are able to open a school without fear that they're going to be attacked by these radical Islamists, that you cannot provide education. You cannot provide economic opportunity in Mosul, the second largest city in Iraq, when it falls to the hands of ISIL. So the president had laudable goals, but first and foremost is the necessity to beat them, to provide security for the emergence of these countries.
It had the feel of one of those law school lectures that the president used to do in a previous life. Why the verbal gymnastics over using the word Islamic or Muslim terrorism?
I think the president is just stubborn and arrogant. He thinks he knows better, and he is not going to bend to the necessities of the moment. And as a result, we then have these odd moments. Here at the end, he brings up Muslim communities in the United States. They're small, and we don't get to know them. And so you know, sort of like this reassuring note to American Muslims, it's one thing to say, you know, as a country, we are diverse with people of all faiths and all backgrounds, and we believe in tolerance. It's another thing to sort of say, it was almost like an apologetic note of you know, we really haven't treated them nice, and I really want you to remind them to treat us nice. You do need to speak out at moments of threat to the Muslim community in the United States. President Bush knew this after 9/11 when emotions were running high. But that was not the moment today and not the necessity. And the president, I think, missed it by not saying, these are radical Islamists who claim to speak in the name of a great religion. He came close to saying that, but could not bring himself to finally say that, and thereby lost a chance to help rally the vast majority of Muslims around the world who reject these tactics and are looking for leadership that stands for this divide.
He had something else to say early in the speech that caught my ear. I want to play it for you and get your reaction. Here it is.
We must remain unwavering in our fight against terrorist organizations. And in Afghanistan, our coalition is focused on training and assisting Afghan forces. We'll continue to conduct counterterrorism missions against the remnants of al-Qaeda in the tribal regions. When necessary, the United States will continue to take action against al-Qaeda affiliates in places like Yemen and Somalia. We will continue to work with partners to help them build up their security forces so that they can prevent ungoverned spaces where terrorists find safe haven.
When he talks about the remnants of al-Qaeda, I found myself, you know, flashing back 3 years to the to the campaign for re-election when he was saying that al-Qaeda is on the run. Part of the problem that we seem to face these days, Carl, is that al-Qaeda is as strong as ever, or so it would seem.
Yeah. Well, and also he said just a couple of weeks ago in the interview with the YouTube woman Glozell Green, who floats around in a bathtub of Fruit Loops, he told her we've responsibly ended 2 wars. Now, I've been talking to people who are concerned about Afghanistan. And the Afghans are very deeply concerned about the end of the U.S. combat role, and more importantly, right today, about the diminished footprint of the United States. We used to have a number of military facilities that allowed us to immediately project our air power and our special operators where needed. Now we're down to 1 base. So vast swatches of Afghanistan are no longer under the umbrella of America's military support for the Afghan troops. And they're worried that the United States is going to leave them in a lurch. They want a residual force like we've kept in Korea for 6 decades. They want a residual force that will help sustain them in their fight, just as Iraqis did. They wanted to stay behind U.S. force. President Obama messed that up. He said he wanted to stay behind force, then messed it up, and we saw what happened in Iraq as a result of that. Do we want to see the same with the return of the Taliban and al-Qaeda in Afghanistan as well? It would be a huge defeat for the United States and a huge security problem. So the president said the right things, that we need to do these things, but he's not providing the muscle and the will to do these things that he claims that we need to do.
We'll see whether positive developments come out of this conference. Karl Rove joining us today from Austin, Texas. Karl, thank you.